You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Dr. Jerome Corsi today. It is Friday. It's August 15th, 2025. Thanks for joining us on CorsiNation.com. On X, you can follow us at CorsiJerome1, the number 1. On Substack, JeromeCorsiPhD.substack.com. Now, I've got a really important announcement. What I'm finding out is that the Democrats are now planning a 2020. Remember in 2020 when they were trying to get Trump out of office, the Democrats had the Black Lives Matters and the Antifa protests all over the country. You know, we had the George Floyd, any incident that the Democrats could say was a police murdering a black person who was apparently doing it as unjustly or criminally. Black Lives Matter went insane. And the cities all burned. Portland, Oregon, we had every night riots and burning. So we had a whole season in the summer of 2020 of burning, disruption, chaos all across America. And it was designed to disrupt the 2020 election and would make sure that Trump was not going to be reelected. Now, the Democrats are planning this again. They're planning to do it, and Trump knows it. Trump's got the intel, and he knows it. Now, why are the Democrats doing it? Well, the Democrats know that the Department of Justice is now solidly pursuing indictments in the Obama coup d'etat. And they extend to Clapper and to Brennan, some very high up people, head of the CIA, director of national intelligence. And these people are pretty nervous, understandably, because they've committed treason. Now, the point is that if the goal of the Democrats in more disruption right now will be to make sure the Department of Justice can't proceed quickly, because the calculation is if the statute of limitations run out, then the crimes the Democrats have pursued and committed might not be punishable simply because it was too long ago. And so this redo of, blow the whistle, they send out the dog whistle, they communicate to all the Act Blue activists, everybody gets paid to cause more burning down in the cities. Okay, now Donald Trump is aware of the plan. And what this does is it explains the fact that one of the key reasons why Donald Trump decided now to take over Washington, D.C. What Donald Trump has done is he's militarized essentially the city. He's put in the National Guard. He's empowered powers of police enforcement to federal troops and to various government federal authorities. So he's taken essentially over the command of D.C. out of the civil authorities. I believe the mayor of Washington has gone up to Martha's Vineyard, I believe. There's a story on that. I can track it down here on the internet. But the Democrats are all up in arms and complaining, saying that ICE is going to start arresting people who are illegally here, and then they're making up crimes and they're militarizing. None of that makes any difference. Donald Trump at this point doesn't care. He knows that Washington, D.C. is a disaster. It's dangerous. It's another Democratic hellhole. Democrats will not enforce the law, so he's going to do it. But more than that, Donald Trump's putting out the message. Any city that gets disrupted, he's going to come down on it with an iron hammer. He's going to put in the troops. He's already said he wants the military to create a whole new rapid response division that can go in as a strike force and immediately put down any disorder in any city. Donald Trump, if you remember 2020, when you had General Kelly, who was anti-Trump, although Trump had him as chief of staff. You had General Milley, who was head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And all these military were saying that if Trump invoked the Insurrection Act, which allows Trump to quell a civil disturbance, he can call in the troops on his own authority. But Milley and Kelly and the others said, no, Black Lives Matter has a right to protest, and the troops would not obey an order. That's insubordination. Trump should have fired Milley that day. I was writing about it at the time. I remember it distinctly in 2020 saying, fire Milley now. He's insubordinate. Well, that's not going to happen again. Trump is not going to let this go forward. The Department of Justice is now gaining speed, actually, in its investigation of the crimes committed by Obama in the Obamacare coup d'etat. And of course, you put up my book, Coup d'etat, which I wrote in 2020, as this was all going on, and predicting that Trump was going to have a very hard time surviving because the disruption, one after another, when the riots didn't work, they talked about the 25th Amendment, then they had all these impeachment attempts. So Trump was under siege. Trump was definitely under siege. And Trump was under siege in a major, major way that in 2020 he couldn't handle. But this is 2025. We've got a different president right now. So Trump is going to say that the Department of Donald Trump is going to show that this is not going to happen again. If the Democrats move this way, he's going to start charging them with insurrection. He's going to find out who in Act Blue and the other organizations committed these crimes. This is now treason. And if they want to disrupt America with the Democratic Party has become first a communist party, then it became a criminal party with Act Blue, and now it is in the process of becoming a treasonous party designed to make sure Donald Trump does not win in this battle to bring to justice the Obama traitors. So be prepared for, as we get into the last days of August and going into September, if we don't see the cities heating up again, protests, burning, but it's not going to be the same play all over again. Donald Trump is going to come down. He's going to make sure that there is justice. And I want to put the Democrats on notice. They try this stunt of having, blowing the whistle, and suddenly the cities get on fire. We're going to catch them. These communications will be heard, monitored. They'll be indicted. Democrats are not going to get away with it this time. The Democrat communist traitors better understand that Brennan and these others are going to be brought to justice. Okay, now I'm also in the process of releasing a story that Obama's real plan in 2020 was that neither Hillary nor Trump would be president. I know I've just written something I'm submitting for publication. It may be a little difficult to get it published, but the real story was that, if you remember, just a few days before the election, the FBI director, Comey, came out and said, well, we've given the Hillary laptop another look. And with the Wiener laptop, you remember Wiener laptop was being held for 3 weeks by the FBI. They say, well, we found some emails from Hillary that now make us want to know again if we should reopen the investigation on Hillary's use of her email server. Well, what they were preparing for is if Hillary won, she could easily be indicted again for national security violations with regards to her private email server while she was Secretary of State, and say she was in collusion with Russia. Huma Abedin was publishing Hillary's classified emails on her Yahoo account. Anyone could have read them. She was doing favors for people worldwide as long as they paid the Clinton Foundation. I wrote a book on that called Partners in Crime. Chris, you can show that one as well. And so therefore, Obama thought, well, Trump could be Russia collusion. Hillary could be email server in collusion with Russia. They could both be charged with treason. And Obama would say the 2016 election has to be canceled, and he gets 2 more years as caretaker president in order to resolve the crisis. And since he's not elected a third time, those 2 extra years would not violate the 22nd Amendment, which says you can't be elected twice. Doesn't say you can't be appointed a third time. Okay, so the Democrats were on this scheme, and they were also working with Putin. It was the Democrats who were Obama, Clapper, Brennan were the ones colluding with Russia. Putin was blackmailing them all. And the point is that they projected Obama, Clapper, and Brennan onto Trump, what they themselves were doing, namely Russian collusion. Okay, so now Trump is much more in control right now, and he sees it much more clearly. So therefore, the riots aren't going to happen. Instead, the people inciting riots, organizing them, causing them to happen, their emails are going to be intercepted. Their communications are going to be monitored. They're going to prison for inciting riots and causing a treasonous situation to bring down the president of the United States and prevent these traitors from being brought to justice. So Donald Trump's going to be in control of the cities. Now, in control of the cities means several things. Number one, the homeless are getting cleaned out. And these homeless encampments are being torn apart. And the people in them can either go get help and shelters and the like, or find someplace else to go. But they're not going to sleep in the parks in Washington, D.C. anymore. And every city that is next on the line, because even if the Democrats do nothing, Trump's probably going to Chicago, New York, these other Democratic-controlled cities and doing the same thing. We're going to get law and order. We're going to get the homelessness off the streets. I'm creating a veterans first organization, which is dedicated to working with the veterans and the homeless. We're going to be addressing these issues. HUD will be involved. The Veterans Administration will be involved. Health and Human Services will be involved. It's going to be a very, very comprehensive set of actions that are going to come down. I want to buttress what I'm saying today by showing you some things that are going on that are being released today, and Tulsi Gabbard is doing her job. I think Tulsi Gabbard is the most effective one so far that Trump has in position of power as head of the Director of National Intelligence. Now, Gabbard released yesterday two emails that show how the Democrats, Obama, etc., were plotting to 2 days before the Trump-Putin Summit in Alaska in 2016, you had DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Clapper, pushing this fraudulent narrative that the Russia had hacked the Democratic National Committee and stolen the emails. And he was overriding objections from National Security Agency Chief Mike Rogers. Okay, now this whole claim that Russia had hacked the DNC to help Trump, that was used to sabotage the 2018 Putin-Trump Summit in Helsinki. That was just 3 days before Special Counsel Robert Mueller indicted 12 Russian nationals on charges of hacking the DNC. Now, that indictment was a kind of a fake indictment. Mueller knew that these 12 Russians were located in Russia. They're never going to come back to the United States to stand trial, meaning he never could prove his case. But by announcing this and indicting 12 Russians, the result of the indictments was exactly what Mueller and his team wanted it to be. Okay, so they yet to be identified co-conspirators were now identified in Russia, seeking to sabotage the summit and effectively criminalize diplomacy with Russia. Now, this comes from a really insightful article written by Hans Mahnke, Mahncké. The article is entitled Bombshell DNI Emails Expose Fraud That Sabotaged 2018 Trump-Putin Summit. That's in thefederalist.com this morning. It's a very important article because, again, it shows how the Democrats were using these false narratives, creating lies about Trump colluding with Russia. And Clapper was advancing this narrative despite the actual intelligence saying that it wasn't true. And Obama, Clapper, Brennan all knew that. Okay, but the latest emails show that Clapper responded to Admiral Rogers' doubts by saying, that's our story and we're sticking to it, adding that more time is not negotiable. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities, our normal ways of collecting intelligence, since we must do this on such a compressed schedule. This is one project that has to be a team sport. Okay, Obama had given the order that the Director of National Intelligence was to make sure that the Intelligence Committee community assessment blamed Russia for stealing the emails. Now, I know this in the Mueller investigation, when they were investigating me, they thought I had the tie to Julian Assange. Came to the issue of discussing the Russian role in stealing the emails of the DNC. I said, Russia didn't have anything to do with it. I had expert information on how the Democrats had put their computer system together. I knew for a fact that the Democrats were deeply involved in creating this false narrative, and the way technically that the emails were stolen from the email server in the DNC had to have been done by slipping in a disk and downloading the files, because the time interval for the steal was too short to have been done by a hack. Too many were taken, too short a time. Okay, so now by dropping this information, as Tulsi Gabbard did, Tulsi Gabbard's letting the world know that the FBI and the U.S. intelligence agencies are working together now, and Tulsi Gabbard's going to have some new dimensions to look at here. And I'll be breaking these stories here pretty shortly as to how Russia had the codes to our NSA, how Russia was in there along with the Clapper and the others who were monitoring the stock market, monitoring chief financial officers of Fortune 500 companies to know how they were going to report their quarterly earnings, and front running the stock, entirely illegal, to make billions of dollars. Russia had that access. Clapper gave it to them. We'll cover that story as well. There's lots more coming out here. And the whole point is that, Brennan, the others think, well, they'll never get to the real story of what we did. So they'll just be able to charge us with lying to Congress, which is a minor offense. No, they're going to be able to charge, by the time we get done disclosing to Tulsi Gabbard what really happened, the treason will be evident, and there'll be treason charges on the table. That's a capital offense. And the Obama people aren't, and Obama himself is not going to escape this. Their own emails are going to hang them. And the timing of the emails and in relationship to events is the key here, where you see how many things that happened in 2016 and 2020 were actions taken by the Democrats in relationship to Trump trying to stay in power, trying to win the election, and their efforts to counter that. But since Trump was inaugurated on January 20th, 2017, the Democrats have been in treasonous insurrectionist mode, and it's continuing today. Trump's aware of it, and he's taking strong steps to prevent it. Okay, that's story number one. Story number two has a lot to do with the what's going on with this summit, which is happening today in Alaska. Now, I'm pretty well sure that Trump and Putin have come to an agreement before the summit. And I think the agreement's going to be Russia will give up some territory and Ukraine will give up some territory. Ukraine's going to give up a lot more than Russia, because Russia's taken territory that Russia does not necessarily want. Russia's now taking territory in the Ukrainian, speaking part of Ukraine, where they're closer to Germany and Poland, the Nazis, than they are to Russia. Putin will keep the two provinces over by Donbass on eastern of Ukraine, and he'll keep Crimea, which is where the port for Sebastopol is. He's not going to let go of those, but he will give on certain other territorial concessions. Why? Well, Putin doesn't really want to manage the Ukrainian-speaking people in Ukraine because they're all Nazi. And that was the whole real story here with Zelensky. Zelensky was actually neo-Nazi. And they were sending, his government, Ukrainian government, was sending neo-Nazi brigades with Nazi symbolism into these eastern provinces to kill Russian-speaking freedom fighter nationalists who wanted independence from the Nazi-controlled government in Ukraine. That's the real story. And Hillary Clinton for a profit, the State Department, Soros to cause disruption and destroy America, were all for pushing Ukraine into NATO on the border with Russia. Okay, so by front running the story and letting everybody know what the real plan is, when these riots start, you now know the code. You now know the secret code of what the Democratic traitors are doing. once you know the code, it's going to be harder for them to pull it off. That's my reason for exposing it today. Now you know what they're going to do. As soon as they start doing it, you'll be warned to understand what's behind the scene and the lies that are going to be told to you to try to justify the rioting, which are all going to be lies designed to destroy America. Okay, the Democratic Party is now in disgraceful decline. The Democratic Party can't close fast enough for me. And I'm well along the way in making the disclosures that Act Blue was not just stealing people's identities in order to make campaign contributions to Democrats from this big pool of money Act Blue created. Act Blue, the Democrats said, just contribute to Act Blue. Then we'll sort the money out, as if we'll be the collection agency and we'll decide which NGOs, non-governmental organizations, which campaigns get the money. Well, the truth was that Act Blue had to be funded with billions of dollars from somewhere. And the billions of dollars came from the opening of the border that Obama did in going back to 2011, 2014 with Honduras. And in opening that border, what they did was they opened it to drug trade, child sex trade, and to other types of criminal activity, including fentanyl from China, all of which went into the banks. Okay, so the agreement with two presidents in Honduras, who were both part of the Sinaloa drug cartel, and Obama and Biden, opening that border was designed to create a situation where the criminal activity could occur. And by the way, the child sex trade and child organ trade was far more profitable than the drug or fentanyl trade. And the CIA was in on it. CIA was organizing it and managing it. The Obama administration had done a step down of the border patrol. And so an ICE had been stepped down. The money flowed into banks. Okay, and the banks laundered the money. And what happened is that the chief executives of Act Blue committed mortgage fraud. They buy a $1 million house in Palo Alto, California, and they would get $50 million in loans on it, mortgage loans that showed up in LexisNexis public records, but they were never on the deeds. And it was just all this drug trade, child sex trade, child organ trade money, which the banks were now finding a convenient way to give back to the Democrats. So the Democratic Party in the United States under Obama has been funded by child sex trade and by child organ harvesting. Now, if that isn't evil, I don't know what is. If the Democratic Party gone communist wants to come before the American people and say, we're going to kill your children in order to advance our evil agenda, it's satanic. And this needs to be exposed and destroyed. Now, Chris, we got a clip from Senator John Kennedy. Let's play that one. It's a good clip showing the acknowledgement of just how deteriorated, evil the Democratic Party's been. Let's play this clip.
There is a split in the Democratic Party. Unless you have the IQ of a meat thermometer, you can see that. On the one hand, you have the mainstream wing of the party. On the other side, you have the what I call the loon wing of the party. The loon wing is winning. They're fighting like cats in a bag, but the loon wing is winning. Nobody pays any attention to what Obama or Clinton or Pelosi or Schumer or Jeffrey says anymore. The leaders are Mr. Mondani and Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders. And yes, they're socialists, neo-socialists. They want government to control your life and tell you how to live it. It's hard to believe that anyone can fit that much stupid into their head, but they can.
It's a very good clip. Chris, you want to come on with comment about these things today? I think we've covered a lot here, but I think it's very important.
It's funny. The Democrats are considered at another crossroads today. They keep going farther and farther to the left. And I'm not just saying now. You see, this wing with Pelosi, Schumer, and the like, these people were the new wing when the Democrat Party used to have. They kind of transitioned from the likes of Bob Kerrey, uh, Tip O'Neill, people, and Daniel Moynihan, who would actually they were liberals, but they'd actually understand the idea of working with both sides and trying to get things done for the good of the people, at least for the most part, and try to get wins for their own party, because that's basically what the principle is anyway. Now, with this new group, or I'm sorry, the Schumer Pelosi group, were the ones who initiated or actually went full force on a win for our party, and that's it. Don't let anybody else get a win. Virtually no compromise, and it has to be all about us. Well, this wing is even more radical with that, and of course, again, has turned the Democrats into a virtual communist party.
Well, I think we're seeing the end of the Democratic Party, and it can't go away fast enough to please me. It should end in treason and be disintegrated by the American people. If it's going to deal, if you're a Democrat, it means you support child sex trade and child orbis harvesting. God help you. Okay, now that's one more point I want to make on the summit today, and that is it's a very important summit because there's a lot at stake here. I think Putin realizes that he's going to have to agree to a ceasefire. Otherwise, Trump is going to impose energy sanctions, which will be crushing on Russia's economy. And Putin wants to end Russia's isolation, wants to restore the economy. And so, with the landmark speech that Trump gave in Saudi Arabia last May, when he said America should have no permanent enemies, he wants to have this new world order of global security through trade and prosperity, peace through prosperity. It's the only formula that works for human beings. So Trump's going to discuss global issues, global trade, Israel-Hamas, Israel-Iran war, Iran's nuclear weapons program, North Korea, Arctic energy cooperation, terrorism, and Putin's going to be letting it known that, in fact, we're going to have a cooperative relationship here. If Russia wants to play this to win, to dominate America, it's not going to go down with Trump. Okay, so Biden consistently was demonizing Putin, calling him a war criminal and likening the Russian leader to Hamas. The Democrats were only about demonizing Russia. But Trump is taking efforts to say that in the Middle East, we've got to have the Abraham Accords. We've got to reach across to Libya. We've got to be willing to take the Palestinians out of Gaza. They return, Hamas returns, and we go back to the problems we've had for the last 75 years in the Middle East. These are not good solutions. This article was written by Fred Fleitz, F-L-E-I-T-Z. It's entitled The Trump-Putin Alaska Summit's About More Than the Ukraine War. And it's written on American greatness today. And so I want to highlight that article. I've been reading some from it. And this, I think, is going to be a historic summit. And again, with the revelation as to how the Democrats tried to ruin the Helsinki summit for Trump and Putin, going back into the first administration, shot fire criminal investigation that was being done by Sean Taylor, who was the whistleblower who released all this. I've written one article in American Thinker on Sean Taylor's work. I'm going to try to get 2 more in print next week. Okay, in terms of the economy, a couple of things. First of all, Germany's industrial core is collapsing under this U.S. trade deal and the green agenda. So Germany is contracting 9% in 2023 and 5.5% last year. But the decline looks like it's going to be dramatic this year, given the higher cost of energy. Germany has turned off its nuclear power plants, and therefore it's gone into an energy crisis. They don't want to use hydrocarbon fuels because doing a green agenda, they're going to collapse the German economy, which is the backbone of the EU economy. Also, we're seeing all of these electric vehicle companies, the car companies are pulling out of all of the decisions to switch to electric car production. This giant wind company, Ørsted, which was really the poster child of the green energy movement. They were, this is an article on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. That's a pen name, but this is the guy who runs the blog. And he's saying that the green energy is in shambles as common sense energy policies return under the Trump administration, and Ørsted is giving up the rights, they announced a rights offering. They're trying to raise $9.4 billion to prop themselves up. But no, the problem is that the stock has just collapsed. At one point, the stock was trading at almost $1,400 a share, and now it's trading at close to $200 a share. Ørsted has collapsed. The green energy market is deteriorated. And I want to go to Swiss America and focus on the fact that gold and silver prices are continuing to be very strong. Gold today is still over $3,300 an ounce, $3,356 an ounce. Silver is $38 an ounce. And so therefore, go to Swiss America on the website. I'm going to give you the number to call in because you can get a free copy of the book I've written on the coming global crash. It's going to cause an historic gold rush. The number is 1-800-519-6268. And if there's a copy of the book Chris is showing you to you, how the coming global crash will create an historic gold rush. If we take a look at the Swiss America Walking Liberty $50 offer, you get 250 of these coins for about what they're worth in silver as a first time, one time only offer for new customers. Become a new customer of Swiss America. Start talking about how your IRAs can be held in a self-directed IRA and can be invested in gold and silver. That will appreciate while your assets in mutual funds in the stock market have a strong chance of taking a substantial loss in the as soon as we get into the fall. This is a great offer. Silver is a lot cheaper than gold, so it's a lot easier to buy and hold silver, but it's going to continue to appreciate just as gold is. You don't have to have thousands of dollars to get into this market. Talk to Swiss America and find out how, whatever economic status you're at, you can benefit by having some of your money holdings being worth more, gaining, rather than losing with purchasing power, which your dollar is doing. We've covered a lot today. We'll be covering the summit as it goes forward next week. We'll see what the results of this have been. But it's been a strong week. The Department of Justice, I think, is finally getting its sea legs. These indictments are going to come forward. Investigations are starting, and they're serious. It's Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today is Friday. It's August 15th, 2025. CorsiNation.com. In the end, God always wins. God is going to win here too. And I encourage everybody in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, let's get on our knees and ask God to forgive us for letting the country get to this moral point of decay. God will hear our prayer and heal our land as promised. And with the help of God, I think we can right this ship of state. And Donald Trump, I think, is doing an excellent job of being an historic peacemaker. And as they say in the Beatitudes, blessed be peacemakers, for they are the sons of God. And there's few of them, and they're far between. I think Donald Trump has graduated to that level. Dr. Jerome Corsi, thank you for joining us. God bless.